Hi there, and welcome to my class on cooking with essential oils. My name is Julie Baumensberger, and I am thrilled that I get to honor my desire to connect with great people. Hey, Catherine, hello. I am so happy that I get to connect with the right people, in this case, anybody who's interested in learning about essential oils and how we can use them in the kitchen. And just to give you a little bit more confidence and um, and information on ideas on how we can use essential oils.
We can't go on camera. I don't have a phone.
Sorry, guys, I just have to mute. Catherine, if you don't mind just muting yourself, please. There we go. Thank you. So I'm just so happy that I can connect with everybody and teach you what I know about using essential oils in the kitchen. I grew up in a Ukrainian household, which meant that food is and always was a priority. We grew a large family garden. We learned how to prepare food for the table. I grew up in a family of 4 children, so all of us were always helping our mother. We learned how to work in the gardens. We learned how to can. We learned how to bake. We learned how to do all the things. And at the time, even though I resented it a little bit, I was just very grateful that I was able to learn so much from my mother. And using doTERRA essential oils was really excellent because it meant that I got to use some of my favorite things in the kitchen. And I'm just really excited to share all of that with you today. So I know, Catherine, you're joining me, and you already do use oils in your kitchen. If you would like to use the chat feature, if you're coming on board and using the chat feature, that would be awesome. You can ask any questions you want there, and I'll just go through all the material first. So I am going to be using an ebook as a reference. Anybody who's watching this class, I'm happy to give you the link to this book. And as well, I have a wonderful handout that kind of summarizes things. And in addition, I have some of my favorite recipes that I've used essential oils for that I would be happy to send to you. So if you've watched the replay or if you're joining me live, you'll be able to get all of that. So why cook with essential oils? I hear so many people say, why would you use an essential oil? You know, you can use whatever the whole food is. And we all know that sometimes, like in the winter, we don't always have access to fresh basil. Basil and parsley I have on my kitchen windowsill, but sometimes you need an herb, be it some fresh oregano or other herbs, or sometimes you don't have that flavoring that they called for in a recipe. And that's when I turn to my essential oils. There are lots of other reasons. So sometimes the flavor is a little bit more intense. How many times have we bought something, let's say we bought some dill, and dill is an essential oil that we used to have. We don't have it right now. So, or let's say something like thyme or oregano, and we bought it at the grocery store, and then we put it in our crisper, and 2 weeks later, or sometimes even a week later, it's not fresh anymore. It's not good anymore. So the beautiful thing about essential oil, so I've got cilantro here as an example. I always have some cilantro on hand if I'm making some fresh salsa. If I'm making some fresh hummus, I like to put some cilantro in it. So it's just a really nice way to not be wasteful of fresh herbs, and it doesn't take a lot, which we're going to be talking about as well. The other nice thing about using essential oils in our recipes for cooking is that we have all the internal benefits. So again, there are a lot of foods, and the more I learned about essential oils, the more I learned that a lot of the Mediterranean herbs and spices, a lot of the spices that are used in East Indian cooking, they're all very beneficial for our digestive system. So, and also other things. So oregano is a great antiviral, antibacterial. When we ingest that, it also helps with that. Not only does it give the flavor, it also gives us those benefits. And they're safe and natural as far as the essential oils go. Sometimes when we get our herbs, especially the ones that are dehydrated in little plastic containers in the dollar store, those have all been radiated. They we do not know. I mean, they're practically dust by the time we get them, truthfully. If I do buy herbs, dried herbs, I always buy organic because I know that they haven't been irradiated, and I know that they're going to be of top-notch quality. The great thing about the essential oils, as I said, though, is that they don't spoil. So if I have a bottle of basil and I keep it in a cooler, dark place, so not on the windowsill like my basil plant, but in a cupboard away from bright sunlight and away from the heat of the stove. Our kitchens can get pretty warm sometimes. I know that this will last whenever I need it. It'll be there. So it's really convenient. As I said, that's one of the things I like. I always have lots of essential oils in the kitchen and in our home. There's the whole question of, is it safe to consume essential oils? And certainly, anytime we put any substance into our body, there are risks at play. So we want to make sure that we're using properly and the correct amount. And chances are you've already consumed lots of essential oils. A lot of flavorings that are used commonly in food production come from natural sources like essential oils. But also, just when we handle foods, we are picking up the oils from them. So when anybody who's ever diced a pepper knows the oil that comes off the pepper is there. So whenever we use real food, like whole food, we are exposed to those essential oils all the time. Having said all that, you want to be very careful about which essential oils you choose. Make sure, number one, and I'm going to say that the first thing that I like to make sure everybody understands is that when I'm talking about using all these essential oils in our recipes, I'm talking specifically about doTERRA essential oils, which are certified pure tested grade, CPTG, third-party tested, so they are safe for consumption. But even then, not all doTERRA oils are safe to be taken internally. Rule of thumb that I like to teach is if the oil comes from a plant or a food that you would normally ingest anyway, so think of all of the spices, think of any of the fruits, so bergamot, cilantro, lavender, lemon, patchouli. Well, lavender maybe isn't one that we would normally think of eating, but we do drink lavender tea, so we know that that's okay. Anything that comes from a fruit, lemongrass, those of you who like to do Thai cooking, there are a lot of essential oils that are safe to be ingested. Ones that you want to stay away from are usually ones that come from trees, so arborvitae and cedarwood, cypress, Douglas fir, eucalyptus is not to be taken internally, spikenard, which is a resin, wintergreen is not to be taken internally. And as I said, if they're doTERRA, that's going to be, if you are ever not sure, it's so easy. doTERRA has so many amazing educational materials that if you ever want to look up the oil, you can just look it up on the doTERRA website or my website, and it will tell you if it is safe to use internally or not. Some of the things that we use essential oils for might be to flavor soups and things that are hot or things that we bake. And there are a few things that I love using. Just as an example, so celery seed is one of our oils that's rather new to the doTERRA line. It's just been around for a few years. And celery seed, I wanted to make some chili a few months ago and I didn't have any fresh celery. So just 1 or 2 drops of the celery seed was enough to flavor my chili. When you add essential oils to something that's hot, like a soup or a chili, ideally you want to add it after you've finished boiling it. So just add 1 or 2 drops, and we're going to talk about how to add oils to it, but you want to add it after you finish the heavy processing, the heavy cooking. And that's just so that it doesn't evaporate. Having said that though, if you're adding an oil that you might want to blend in a little bit more, and certainly some of the oils that are very strong flavored, like the herbs, oregano, basil, marjoram, thyme, you might consider adding them in. It's okay if you add them in when it's a little bit hot, because then some of the excess oil will evaporate a little bit. You'll still get the flavor, and it'll be a little bit milder and more pleasant. I always like to use I don't own a microwave. We don't have a microwave in the house, so we don't have many plastic utensils. Metal and glass are the best for using when you're using essential oils in the kitchen, specifically with the citrus oils. If I want to add some citrus oil to my water, I make sure that it's a metal container, not a plastic one. So there are a few different ways of measuring essential oils. Certainly the easiest way is to drop them in. Citrus oils come out fairly quickly, so be warned. Grapefruit is one of my favorites. Grapefruit, lemon, tangerine. We have green mandarin this month, which is amazing in water. And also, you want to make sure that you don't add too much of the, sorry, I'm just gonna, oh, we'll just let that go to voicemail. Sometimes you want to make sure that you're not adding too much, specifically the herb oils. I find those can be really potent, and this is how I use them. You can, there's two options. When you see that there's a little hole in the top, sorry about the phone, guys, you can stick a toothpick in that and then just stir the toothpick in your soup or whatever you'd like to do. Or your other option is, if it's something that you know you're using quite frequently, you can make up a little batch of it. So take maybe a tablespoon of olive oil or whatever you're using as the base, or tomato juice or some water, and add a drop of the basil to that, and then you just add a part of that. So if that's clear. So you want to, what you want to do is have like a diluted, have a diluted amount. An easy way to do this is something that I did a couple of winters ago, was I made some herb salt, and that was so nice. So I took some Himalayan salt, and then I added 2 drops each of all the different herbs that I had. So basil, marjoram, oregano, and thyme. And then I had that all in the salt in a glass jar. And then whenever I needed some salt for meats or savory dishes, I had all those beautiful herbs all infused with it already. So that's another great way of using it, especially with the ones that have really intense flavor. Remember, once you add to your recipe, you can't take it out. It's not like salt. So if you have something that's too salty, you can throw in a raw potato in your soup or your casserole, and that will help draw the salt. With essential oils, I warn you, just always start slowly, add small amounts. I once ruined a whole beef stew because I put 2 drops of thyme essential oil in. It was much too strong. But don't be scared off. Some of the oils are also very potent and hot, as I said. So I'm just going to go over the list. So cassia and cinnamon, if you're using those in your baking or in your smoothies and things like that, a little bit goes a long way. Clove, cumin, thyme, and oregano. Those are the ones that you really have a lot. You need to be a little bit more careful with. And as I said, you don't want to be dropping them as right into the dish. It's just like salt. I never pour salt into a pot of soup. I always put it into my hand first and then into the soup. It's just a lot easier. Next, we're going to go over some of the different essential oil groups and how we can use them. So citrus oils. Our citrus oils come from the process of cold pressing the rind. So they're coming from the zest of the lemon. It takes 75 lemons to make 1 bottle of lemon essential oil. Lemon oil is in my kitchen all the time. Not only is it good for all the other things, like when our throat is scratchy, or if you want to get sticky stuff off of a glass jar, you know, that residue, that sticker stuff, but it's also wonderful when we use it internally to help gently cleanse our body system, but also to give that fantastic lemon flavor. You can use grapefruit, bergamot. As I said, there are a lot of citrus oils that we can use, and they're really good for any kind of beverages, for baked goods. We have crepes every morning on Sunday mornings, and I always add either lemon or wild orange to the crepe batter, just 1 or 2 drops. If you really want to taste that citrus flavor and you're baking something, like let's say you're making muffins or a cake and you really want that citrus flavor, I love it in cheesecakes. You can add more flavor, more drops. So I would probably put about 5 or 6 drops of the wild orange in something that I'm baking so that I can really taste that wild orange. And it's another great way, citrus oils, my dear friend Mary taught me is when we add them to our salad dressings, it really gives a nice bright taste to it. We make all of our own salad dressings, so it's a nice way to boost them up a little bit. And the other thing is, as far as grapefruit, I mentioned grapefruit. A lot of people always ask me about grapefruit essential oil and if that contraindicates with any medications. Because grapefruit oil is made from the peel and not from the actual fruit, you can take your regular prescription medication and not worry about the grapefruit oil interrupting with that or being harmful to you. That is, I got some on my fingers now, I smell grapefruit. That is straight from Dr. Hill. You don't need to be worrying about it. Spices, yes, we have so many beautiful spices: black pepper, pink pepper, cinnamon, coriander, ginger, fennel. Ginger is a favorite of mine. I do love using real ginger. I like to grate it. I actually keep ginger root in the freezer all the time, and then I can just grate off what I need. But it's just to add some intense flavor. I love making sweet potato. Actually, no, what am I talking about? It's ginger. It's what is it called? The squash, the butternut squash, and apple and onion soup in the fall. So good. And 2 drops of ginger is enough to infuse that whole soup with yumminess. So whenever you want that extra boost of flavor, you can enhance natural flavor. So I usually use some of the real ginger root and then add 1 or 2 drops of ginger as well. Again, always start with a toothpick if you're not sure about how strong it's going to be. Some of the herbs that we have are really nice for, oh yes, so as far as the spices go, you can, meat marinades. There's some fantastic recipes for making meat marinades. Anytime you're using a sweet and savory dish, and just enhancing the natural flavors of the vegetables. For herbs, we've got basil, cilantro, marjoram, oregano, rosemary, and thyme, all those delicious flavors. And again, really good with Italian dishes, with meat marinades, with soup, adding them to your breads. If you're making any biscuits, you can add a drop of rosemary. I just shared a recipe with rosemary butter a few days ago. Potatoes, yes, delicious in potatoes. And using them is, so if you are familiar with using dried herbs, if you are using fresh herbs, you could use 2 tablespoons of fresh herbs to replace 1 teaspoon of dried herbs. If you're using essential oils, you really want to cut back even more. And something that I read that's really interesting that you can do with your herbs is to mix up a little bit of, let me see, I had it in my one last sheet here. So you can take a few drops of essential oil and add 1/8 of a cup. So that's 2 tablespoons of olive oil to a spray bottle, if you have any glass spray bottles, and then fill the bottle the rest of the way with distilled water. And then you can use this to spray your tortilla chips, to spray your French fries, to spray egg rolls or anything else that you would like to have that on top. So with the herbs, again, diluting them a little bit before we apply them. Okay, so I'm just reading Catherine here. I freeze my ginger as well, but I love adding the ginger oil along with lemongrass to my rice when I'm cooking Thai food. Yes, definitely. Florals. Now, florals are something that we might not think of using, but lavender is what I put in my blueberry jam. Oh, so amazing. Adding lavender to our scones or shortbreads is a really nice flavoring as well if you're doing something a little bit fancy for the summertime. Now, florals are something that not everybody's going to like the taste of lavender, so I suggest going really light with it. But I do have this beautiful blueberry jam recipe by Pomona Pectin, and I use the lavender buds as well as the lavender essential oil. Mints, any kind of mint, so peppermint, spearmint, those are the only 2 mint oils that we have with doTERRA, but those are fantastic. So 1 drop of peppermint tea, I'm sure many of you have heard this before, but 1 drop of peppermint tea is enough to make 28 cups. Sorry, 1 drop of peppermint oil is enough to make 28 cups of peppermint tea. I love using peppermint when I'm baking Christmas cookies, you know, the candy cane cookies, the shortbreads, all of those things. If you make any chocolate brownies or chocolate things that pair really nicely with mint. That's another great thing. Again, 1 or 2 drops. If you're baking, you can add a few more. Mint is also really nice because you can use it in desserts and candies. But some recipes like lamb and chicken would benefit from using spearmint. Again, spearmint is a little bit more gentle than the peppermint. Some essential oil recipes. So for beverages, as I said, if you are really important to drink lots of this stuff during the day, lots of water. We're really fortunate to have our own well, so we have really good quality water, and I love the taste of water. I really do love drinking water, but some people don't. And a way to encourage people to drink more water is to flavor it. Sodas and sugary drinks are not a good option, but if you can drink clear teas or non-caffeinated teas, that's always a good thing. And you can add essential oils to them as well. My friend Yana likes to have chamomile tea before she goes to bed, which is very calming, and then she'll add a drop of lavender to that. Anytime you want to flavor your coffee, I have a friend who puts peppermint oil in the coffee, right in the pot before the percolator goes, before the coffee machine goes, and that flavors it. Or you can use cinnamon. I know a lot of people who like to put some cinnamon. So anytime you want to fancy up your coffee, you can try using cinnamon or peppermint in the coffee grinds before you make your coffee. Catherine says that lavender I add when I make a lemon curd. Oh, really? That's interesting. And also in a lemon icing over banana bread. Yes, peppermint in hot chocolate. Great idea. Yes, for sure. And also when we take essential oils in water, always make sure you stir them around well. When you put the water in, when you put the oil in, drink it, because sometimes it will float on the surface, and especially if we're using something like On Guard or our cinnamon or some of the other more tingly oils, they will tingle your lips. So always be mindful of that, not to add too much. All it takes is 1 or 2 drops. All right, I do have lots of recipes to share as well, but I think what I'll do is I'll offer that if you are interested, I will send you the link for an ebook, but there are lots of fantastic ways. So everything from using lime in a marinade, sweet and sour marinade with wild orange essential oil, parsley basil marinade. That sounds really nice. Now we don't have parsley essential oil, but you're going to be using your basil essential oil with that. For baked goods, lavender cupcakes with lavender cream cheese frosting. Yum, yum. Blueberry orange muffins. Spearmint chocolate chip cookies. Let's see what else we have here. Pineapple nectarine salsa. Yes. Sauces and dips. Yum. Rosemary lemon hummus. Yes, hummus. So I love making, one of the recipes that I can share with you is I love making cucumber dill hummus. Sometimes the hummus, if you make it using chickpeas, is a little bit too dense, a little bit too heavy, which is not too bad in the winter months when we don't mind that kind of rich comfort food. But in the summertime, what I love to do is I use a can of chickpeas, and then I use a large English cucumber, and I put it all in my, so I chop the cucumber into pieces, and then I'll probably use like half a cucumber, and I'll throw that in and make my hummus with it. So it just makes it a little bit lighter. And then you can add either dill essential oil, you can add some black pepper to that. You can add some, depending on what kind of flavoring you want. If you wanted a roasted pepper, more pepper, you could add some pink pepper or black pepper to it. What other recipe did I have here that I love putting essential oils in? Oh yes, my black bean hemp brownies. That's from Julie Daniluk. And then my butternut squash soup, smoothies. Anybody who makes smoothies, we have these amazing nutritious lines. So our vanilla smoothie, our chocolate smoothie, the protein powders that doTERRA now has, our amaze balls. The chocolate one, I put some peppermint, a drop of peppermint into the chocolate protein. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Yes, so that's kind of it for the recipes. Strawberry almond salad. Italian seasoning blend. Yeah, so here you can take 2 tablespoons of garlic salt or a clove of garlic, and then 1 drop of basil, thyme, marjoram, oregano, or rosemary, or any combination of them. And you put them together, and then you can add some olive oil to that, and just let it marinate. You can make beautiful flavored olive oils. Essential oil flavored sugar. Now that's something I've never done. 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then 1 to 3 drops of wild orange, tangerine, lemon, grapefruit, bergamot, or lime oil. Or you could do a teaspoon, sorry, not a teaspoon, certainly not a teaspoon, a toothpick of cinnamon or cassia. And you can use that to put into your coffee or your tea or your lemonade, or to have it over toast. When I was little growing up, we often used to have toast, and then we would spread or toasted bread and spread butter on it, and then sprinkle sugar on top. So this would be a really wonderful treat. The difference between cinnamon and cassia, I've mentioned both of those, is cinnamon is more precious, more expensive. Cassia tastes very similar. And in fact, a lot of the cinnamon sticks that you buy in a grocery store are actually cassia. When you're buying essential oil, you'll notice that cinnamon bark essential oil is about 3 times the price of cassia. So for cooking, cassia is often a good option to use instead. All right, if anybody has, so Catherine, you're watching. If you have any questions or anything else you would like to share in the chat, I'd be happy to do that. But I do have, if you're watching the replay, let me know if you would like this handout. And I have the PDF for cooking with essential oils as well, and some of my recipes. So if you have any questions, and again, everything that I shared was specifically with doTERRA essential oils. I have a little container that's in my kitchen that I only use in the kitchen because that's how often I use the oils in the kitchen. Now, one oil that I didn't talk about that I use a lot in the kitchen and not necessarily for putting into food is this one, lavender. Job hazard of working with a hot oven and hot things on the stove is that we occasionally might get, this is the spot where I usually catch myself on the stove as I'm pulling something up and out, and I usually catch it here. And that's the spot that I missed a few weeks ago. First thing I always do whenever I have that kind. Now this would be for not a 3rd-degree burn. If it's a really, really bad burn, you want to make sure you get some medical aid. But this is what you can do for yourself. I usually run it into cold water first to stop that burning, to stop the heat and the continuing burning. Once we remove it from the heat, it's still burning inside. And then I put undiluted lavender oil right on top. And I have had burns. Sometimes I take something out of the oven and forget it's hot, and I'll grab the handle, and I have had areas of my skin that I thought for sure were going to be blistered up really badly. And just doing this and applying the lavender is very soothing to the skin. Lavender is great topically for helping with any kind of pain, and a lifesaver. So I always make sure that the lavender is either in our dining room or in the kitchen in case I need it quickly. Catherine, so I have lots of essential oils in my kitchen. I often use them when making stews or soups and even sauces. Yeah. Celery seed oil is great. So celery seed is actually, I love using celery seed as well because it's wonderful for our digestive system. On my fasting day, so today I'm fasting, I drink bone broth or bouillon, an organic bouillon, and I add 1 or 2 drops of celery seed to that because it supports my digestive system, and it also adds a little bit of extra flavor. Again, 1 or 2 drops is all you need. Okay, so Catherine, definitely I'm going to send you the handouts. If you are watching the replay, do let me know. Make sure you leave a comment because I have a 5 ml bottle of lemon oil for anybody who is watching who makes a comment, okay? And I'll be doing a draw on Friday at some time. All right, so thanks, Catherine, for coming. I always enjoy having you in our classes. I know you use your oils a lot, and you always have lots to contribute, so thank you so much. And as I said, this replay will be available to watch. Not forever, but let me know. All right, you're very welcome, Catherine. Thank you. enjoy those cook. And I really look forward to hearing what you're trying for the first time in the kitchen. And if you have any oopsies, and if you have something that was a success story, I'd love to hear about it. All right. Thank you.